That was a bad throw, Dad. I'm really glad that we've got this large yard for Batman, because he's making good use of it. But I really do need to get down here, and wife wants me to try and transplant these citrus trees up on the hill, because there's no sun down here. But I've also got a lot of these bamboo stumps. Some I've cut off at ground level, some are still a little bit tall. And I don't want him catching himself on them. And I'd like this to be a nice, playful, usable yard. If you look up there now, you can just see the sun behind the trees. It's currently midday, just after midday. So at this time of year, the sun comes up from over there, goes along here, and then sets. So we don't really get sun in the backyard, or much of it, during the winter. We'll get patches of it down on like this far side against the fence, which you would have seen in yesterday's video, I think, when he was running down here. And we get the odd little patch in the front yard towards the afternoon. But right now, like from morning until now, it's just, sun just stays low in the sky. Oh. The joys of having dogs. Having to clean up the yard, and when the yard is this big, they'll do it anywhere. Gotta find it all. Okay, so rang this morning and cancelled my MRI. We don't want to be going anywhere, if at all possible. Later on, my wife asked me if I can go down to our doctor to collect her prescriptions, because we've had trouble with the prescriptions making it from the doctor to our local pharmacy. When I went to pick up some stuff the other day, they said, oh, you're still owing a script from last month, because they knew it's a regular prescription, they know us, and they said, we'll dispense this and we'll just put the script in when we get it. Now they either get it faxed or emailed. And so when I went in, they said, you still owe us a script. So my wife rang the doctor and they said, it's been mailed. I've got record of it being emailed and faxed. My last script, she texted an e-script to me, and it gives you a little QR code, and you go into the pharmacy and put the QR code underneath the little scanner, and it goes boop, and there's your prescription. And then if you've got a refill, the refill gets emailed to you or texted to you, so you've got your refill QR code. And I said to my wife, why don't you ask for her to do that, because she can text you or email you and you'll get it. And she said, I did ask, and they said their system isn't working at the moment. So she's reprinted the script for us, she's given her a new one, and I've got to go down and collect it, because we don't want to take a chance of it not getting to the pharmacy again. We'll be straight down to the doctor, mask on, go in, collect, get out, leave, and I'll have to check in with the QR codes, because I know they have them there at the doctor's. They have had forever. Drive back up, go to our pharmacy, check in with the QR code, and then get them to dispense her prescription for her. I was looking forward to not going anywhere, but this sort of stuff, this should be classed as an essential trip. And I know one of the guys I chat to on Instagram. He said when he drove to work this morning, because he can't work from home, he said you wouldn't think we were in lockdown. There was so much traffic. I reckon it's going to be a case of, like, at such short notice, there's a lot of people who just can't work from home. Like, I reckon if this had happened for school, I don't know if they would have let us work from home. They would have said, no, you're essential, you've got to go into work. Hopefully this 2-week lockdown helps. Yesterday, my wife had gotten the information from the day before, and New South Wales had 30 brand new cases overnight, 11 of which were people already in quarantine because they were considered close contacts or whatever. So they got themselves tested, put themselves in quarantine, and that came up. However, the rest of that 30 were also linked to that Bondi cluster. Just saw my old music teacher walking up the street. These other people are linked to the Bondi cluster, but they got themselves tested as just a casual contact, so weren't in quarantine, and it turns out that they've been wandering the community. An air hostess for Virgin Airlines here also tested positive. She said, I think she said, okay, realised she was a close contact to somebody else who had been tested positive, so she thought, I better get myself tested. And she came back positive, but before she got herself tested, she worked one day where she was a stewardess on 5 domestic flights between here and Queensland and stuff. So thankfully, because Queensland had already been pretty strict on their border thing, a lot of those flights going up to Queensland weren't very full. There's been 112 cases in Sydney in the last week or less. Just saw an elderly couple walk into the doctors and the pharmacy. The wife was wearing a mask. The guy must be just too cool for school because he wouldn't wear a mask. He's not going to catch anything, even though it's now mandatory to wear masks indoors. That old fella came out with a mask on. But there was another guy. Of all the places to not wear a mask, like inside a doctor's surgery, don't understand that. Definitely happier with my experience up here in the mountains. Come up here to get scripts from our local pharmacy, and it is a small little shopping centre. There's probably about a dozen or so shops, maybe, like post office, bottle shop, a couple of takeaways, the pharmacy, supermarket. Actually, there's more than a dozen, but it's busy up here. I guess a lot of people thinking they're getting essentials, like me. I saw 3 people without masks, and that's when they were walking through the car park. Like one guy, when he first got out of his car, another guy, when he was walking up through the car park, took his mask off so he could walk without his mask. And somebody else walking towards the car, I don't know if he had a mask at all at one point. He seemed to be coming away from the takeaway. But when you looked inside every store, everybody had masks on in store, and most people were walking around this little shopping area with their masks on. Some people like me having the permanent type mask, some with fancy colours and all this sort of stuff. There was one that was tie-dyed, so it was like, but quite a few like that. And then a lot of people who've just got the throwaway medical mask type thing. But I feel better about it up here. People are being more proactive up here about trying to stay COVID free. The QR code check-in is on every store door because that's one of the things you've got to be compliant. Everybody who's inside a building or inside a store is wearing a mask because that's become mandatory. And it's not, as far as we know, COVID is not up here right now. I actually got my COVID test result this morning and I'm negative, no issue there. My wife wants me to still go and get another test in a couple of days' time, just to be sure. I think she said in a couple of days' time, maybe about a week's time, just to be absolutely certain. Especially while I'm on holidays, just do it now so I can still be at home and not be missing work while you're sort of waiting for your results. Not sure if I said it in a video. I'll check, and if I have, I'll won't put this in, or I'll edit this out. But my wife said to me, "Where is Kellyville?" And I said, "Oh, it's a northwestern suburb, sort of north of where I work." And she said, people were going that stupid panic buying in the Coles out there, that they, the police were called to the Coles supermarket because of stupid panic buying. Like all of the supermarkets are saying, there is no need to panic buy. Everything is still being supplied. You're still allowed to come out and shop. You don't need to buy up all the bog roll. And that's the thing. Anyway. One thing though that I wish some people would take a little bit more seriously is getting their children to wear masks as well. Just up here in town, I did notice a few teenagers wearing them and a couple of families that had like kids who were maybe 8 to 10 wearing them. But there was a lot of others that kids that age, they weren't putting masks on them. The mother was walking along, I saw one, mum was walking along with a mask on, had two daughters walking along, no mask. And the new variant is super contagious and it's attacking, like kids are catching it now as well. And there's been a number of the cases in Sydney that have involved schools and preschools, where like I said, a 2-year-old, a 9-year-old, some teenagers. So the doctors, like the head chief medical officer, my wife was saying, had said that they're going to have to revisit rules for schools because it's always been students don't need to wear masks, teachers don't need to wear masks, just need to social distance. And that's one of the things that I think is ridiculous. This new variant is highly contagious amongst kids. And if you're, like they were saying, kids didn't even have to social distance. This thing's going to spread like wildfire if we get back to school and it's still in the community. But some people do take it seriously. I did see one family and their daughter was wearing a mask and her mask was matching her outfit. And it was, that's what they need to do. Like, just get the kids to be serious about it as well. Otherwise, it's going to spread amongst kids. It's going to spread to teachers, and then the teachers are going to spread it outside. A couple of these ones that came up, they said they were kids and linked in the school. We've been out of school for 3 days, so they've gotten tested. I'm not sure why, whether they had symptoms or whether it was because they were close contacts.